In this presentation, we're going to look at the gamma functions, the function specifically. Now, this function is used quite a lot in more advanced probability distributions, for example, the gamma distribution, obviously. But what we're going to do in this presentation is look at the mathematical properties associated with the gamma function and see how they would help us later on. So what we have here is we have two questions. First off, find the gamma function of 7 over 2. So that symbol there is the gamma function symbol, capital gamma actually. And then what we have to do is find the value of the following integral. The integral is from the 0 to infinity of x to the power of 6 times e to the power of minus 5x dx. Okay? Here are the key properties that we're going to look at with the gamma function. So, for any real positive number alpha, okay, here we have 5 properties that we can use. The gamma function of alpha is the integral from 0 to infinity of x to the power of alpha minus 1 times e to the minus lambda x dx. Okay, that's the key function here. Now, just actually, our question is denominated in terms of this format here, the second question. The integral from 0 to infinity of x to the power of alpha minus 1 times e to the minus lambda x dx. That can be written as the gamma function of alpha divided by the lambda to the power of alpha. Just as a sort of quick remark, alpha minus 1 is 6, so that means alpha is 7, and clearly lambda is going to be 5 here, okay? Based on property 2, this one here, okay? Some other useful ones here. The gamma function of alpha plus 1 is equal to alpha times the gamma function of alpha. The gamma function of n, which n is an integer, positive integer, is simply n minus 1 factorial. Okay? And then finally, the gamma function of 1/2 is the square root of pi. Okay. So recall that we have to calculate the gamma function of 7 over 2. So this is obviously going to be of great use to us, this one here, and also this one here. Okay? This sort of is indicative of what we're doing as well, but it's the fifth and the third and the fifth one are what we're using in particularly. So to find the gamma function of 7 over 2, we can write that as gamma function of 7 over 2, that is 5 over 2 times the gamma function of 5 over 2. So just remember, the gamma function of alpha plus 1 can be written as the alpha times the gamma function of alpha. So here, letting alpha equal 5 over 2, which alpha plus 1 is 7 over 2, that means we can get the following expression here. 5 over 2 times the gamma function of 5 over 2. And then again, what we can do is actually re-express the gamma function of 5 over 2 as 3 divided by 2 times the gamma function of 3 over 2, and so on. Okay? Remembering that we have 5 over 2 there from the first iteration. And what we can do with that is express the gamma function of 3 over 2 as 1/2 times the gamma function of 1/2. Okay? So just sort of essentially telescope it out. The gamma function of 1/2 is simply square root of pi. So this expression here resolves into 5 over 2 times 3 over 2 times 1 over 2 times the square root of pi. And piecing that all together, multiplying it out, we can express that as 15 divided by 8 times the square root of pi. So that is the answer to the first one, essentially. Okay. Now, answering the second question here, and you notice that we had alpha equals 7, which meant that x to the power of alpha minus 1 corresponded to x to the power of 6, and lambda equal 5, which gave us e to the minus 5x, lambda equal 5. So what we have to do is work out this integral here. Okay, so what we're going to use is property 2. Let's go back here. This one I mentioned again, I sort of highlighted it before. So knowing what alpha and lambda are, we can find out what the value of that integral is. So it's the gamma function of alpha divided by lambda to the power of alpha. And we know what alpha is, 7, and we know what lambda is, 5. So the gamma function of 7 times divided by 5 to the power 7. Okay. Now, using property 4 here, which was one specifically for integers, the gamma function of n, where n is an integer, is simply n minus 1 factorial. Okay? So the gamma function of 7 is 6 factorial. Okay? And that means what we have is a reasonably straightforward calculation. So 6 factorial is 720. 5 to the power 7 is 78,125. So not the easiest numbers to work with, but not the hardest. So approximately that works out to be 0.0092. So that's it. We'll leave it there.